speaking of principles, Anwar as finance minister, that's another one that they sort of, yeah, and that was it seemed like
Yeah.
another unnecessary one as well. Then Nurul Izzah as the
Yeah.
advisor.
Yeah.
So, in the parlance of Gen Z, right? So,
Yeah.
do you think she's a nepo baby? That's
She's
true.
one of so many in Malaysia. I mean, so I actually, this will be a very American thing to do, but I own that identity. So I tried, my first thought when I heard about this was, well, she is very qualified. But then I thought, all right, so I was really angry when Donald
Right.
Trump brought his family into
Right.
office with him as unpaid advisors
Right.
because nepotism. And so this is not different from that. She is indeed qualified, and
Right.
it's perhaps to her disadvantage that having lost her
Yeah.
seat and having her father as prime minister, she now is essentially shut out of government because to enter would be having a family
Right.
governing rather than a person. And so what makes it challenging is that this is, her advisory role is not unusual in Malaysia. We have at this point such a growing trend toward dynastic
Right.
politics. If you think of, the DAP Lim family, of, how many more
Right.
members might enter in time. Not unlike, there might be some families, my friend in Singapore, will, won't go into details, but it's possible, right? Um, but um, but certainly, I mean, there was such pushback against the
Right.
extent to which Rosma was Najib's confidant and advisor. So the fact that, Rosma is wholly unqualified, Nurul Izzah is qualified, that is a difference, but she is still a family member. And generally, even
Yeah.
in my university, I have to sign, with all
Yeah.
the conflict of interest statements, the fact that I'm not bringing in family members and the fact that they're getting paid or not is
Yeah.
something of a red herring, especially given the structure of the
Exactly.
political economy in Malaysia, in which the money isn't coming through your salary, it's through everything else and the connections and all. And I'm not saying that Nurul Izzah or
Right.
Anwar is necessarily corrupt. I have no idea. I'm assuming not. But it's just that it's the fact that she's not taking a salary. That just means she has enough income from other sources or enough
Exactly.
accumulated wealth that she doesn't need to.
Right.
So that itself is not what determines whether this is right or not. So no, I do think it's problematic, and I do think that this increasing trend towards dynastic politics is probably not the healthiest thing for Malaysia in terms of having a more inclusive polity in which all feel that they can advance. And to some extent, it's also, I would think that strategically, assuming Nurul Izzah does intend to remain in governance and to run for office again, particularly since she had made a principled stance against her father and other boomers of his generation remaining in power, I think it actually behooves her not to be seen as a nepo baby, but rather to continue on her own with the sorts of, anti-poverty policies and so forth that she'd been doing before, perhaps with Rafizi's camp, perhaps outside Pakistan, altogether, but just to build up her own identity. Since she did enter politics as the daughter of Anwar, this is her chance now to kind of break further away from that when she's already cut a lot of those strings. I was really surprised to see her come back into that fold and then sort of sully her reputation, I think, a little bit. Like it's not necessarily damaging in the long term, but it was
agree with you because
unnecessary.
I actually like her and I think she's one of the, as far as nepo babies go, she's one of the more qualified ones and clearly intelligent and so on. And she's not
Absolutely,
the only one you
yeah.
mentioned, right? And there's Hishamuddin, Najib himself, and so she's by no means the only offender. But it seems so strange that this is such an unnecessary move, even if they wanted to still keep her in the public eye, right? There's just so many other ways to do it, right?
Exactly.
A state seat or senator even, right? But this was so unnecessary, and I think, that
or
exactly
a think tank, or just
right,
policy
which
advisor. Like
Anwar
there's
did for
so
a
many
few
other
years,
ways.
right? So and
Yeah. And
right,
policymaking is so opaque in
right,
Malaysia anyway. She could have just as much influence, but without having this, without
right,
bringing
KKN,
KKN,
yes, right.
that sort of specter of nepotism
Corruption,
into
cronyism,
Malaysia.
and
Yeah,
nepotism,
more
right?
than it already is.
And again, like PKR,
Yeah.
its whole mantra and its whole ideology or so-called moral justification is anti-corruption and justice, right? So it goes against everything that they purport to stand for. So I thought it was unnecessary. I'm surprised she initially took that position as well. But I guess I don't know. Maybe maybe they are also thinking, oh, we don't know how long we are going to be in power. Is that? Yeah.
That also could be. Yeah, I don't, and I haven't asked her about it, so I don't know her thinking on it. But yeah, I'm sure one of the people listening can ask her probably personally.
Right.
So why did you take it? But I'm really curious, because yeah, it seemed, especially since he
Right.
wasn't his biggest supporter anyway, in terms of his position within the party. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this idea of the extent to which there is increasingly pervasive, again, if not nepotism, then the dynastic leanings within Malaysian
Right.
politics.
Right.
That's across
Right.
all
Right.
parties. So you mentioned Najib, of course, he's as, not to be the son of a prime minister and still managed to be prime minister.
Right.
Amazing.
Right.
Or, Mahathir's family, and of course that then, because of the nature again of the political economy in Malaysia, that then
Right.
spans both business and politics, and those become even more closely intertwined when we have, almost but not
Right.
quite Philippine style family networks, that really start to control areas in this sort of warlord phenomenon that we do also have in Malaysia. Right now, what keeps that a little bit off balance is probably the fact of an unstable partisan system that, you can have an UMNO warlord, but if they lose their seat, then that position has less staying power than a Philippine-style dynastic politics where they just won't lose their seat. But at the same time, it doesn't really seem to behoove Pakistan to make that more visibly
Right.
worse
And
than it already
your
is.
point about the not taking salary thing being a red herring. Oh, that's a great point, right? Because I mean it's about access to power, and people have to go through you and curry favors and so on. Just the way the political economy is structured there. Yeah. Thank you.
And it reinforces which people have the wherewithal to take an unpaid job.
Yeah.
So
Actually, that's something we need to
stress.
ask also, right? How is it that you can do a job which yeah. Anwar was also you remember he was the economic advisor to the Menteri Besar of Selangor, right? And he took a salary of RM1 as well. Yeah, there's a lot of strange things that go on.